During the Civil War, music was heard across the country in campgrounds, battlefields, small towns, and big cities. Music was used to entertain, console, and inspire the people through one of the most challenging and painful times in America's history. At the onset of the Civil War, few military bands existed. Shortly after the war began, Congress authorized the creation of regimental bands for the Army. On July 31, 1861, War Department General Order No. 48 was issued, entitling 2 field musicians for each company of soldiers and a band of from 16 to 24 musicians for each regiment, leading to the creation of hundreds of bands. Music was used as a marching cadence, for recreational purposes, to recruit new soldiers, and to rally troops.
I think the main purposes were, for one, really to keep the men steady. I think also partly to distract the men from the horrors of war, because they saw a lot of atrocities. You know, there were roughly the same casualties we had in nearly a decade in Vietnam we had in 3 days at Gettysburg, and it kept the men's minds off many of the atrocities they saw on the battlefield. Both armies probably had advantages from it because it provided men moral support, it provided them just I'll say momentum, but it lifted their spirit.
Music played such a large role in the war that it was not uncommon during a break in battle action for an impromptu concert to occur between the two armies. The evening before the Battle of Stones River, the bands of the Confederate and Union armies competed with their respected songs until eventually they combined to play the song Home Sweet Home, as soldiers from both armies sang along. The instruments used in the Civil War varied depending on whether or not a battle was occurring. During battle, instruments such as fifes, flutes, and over-the-shoulder horns were used. Drums were played as a way to keep a marching cadence, so the soldiers were unified, and bugles were used for signaling soldiers. Men could be directed to march, halt, or flank solely from the sound of the bugle. While the Army was at camp, stringed instruments were played for recreation, including guitars, cellos, banjos, and violins. Singing was also a common activity, as it required no instrument and could be done by all. Musicians enlisted from across the country to help support their cause. One of these was Samuel R. Coover from Cumberland County. He was born on March 3, 1845, in Silver Spring Township. At the age of 18, Coover enlisted for service, joining Company D, 20th Pennsylvania Volunteers. Coover was discharged at Harrisburg on January 6, 1864, with the rank of sergeant. 6 months later, he re-enlisted as a corporal for 100 days before being discharged again, this time to join the 195th Regiment, Company D, as a musician. Finally, after 2.5 years of service, Coover was honorably discharged. He eventually died at his home in Camp Hill at the age of 87. At the time of his death, he was one of the few remaining men from Cumberland County that had served in the Civil War.